me around backwards. Don't go yet.
Hold on.
Camera's seeing you now.
That's all right.
Okay. Hey, Chris.
I'm here, but I can't get the video going.
We see you.
Yeah, I see you,
Your video's on.
but you can't see
Okay.
us.
No, I'm on. Good. I think I'm on. I'm not. So
And is Johnny on vacation?
Johnny is not here. Yeah, he's out of town.
See Nick.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm just here. Heather and Linda are here talking about the furnishing, so I just stepped away to sign in.
Okay.
We're live, Mayor. So whenever you're ready.
All righty.
Everyone got to see that.
That was
Confusion.
fun. Let's not do that again. Okay, roll call when you're ready, Liz.
Commissioner Nina Forsyth,
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Grove,
Here.
Commissioner Adam Ritchie,
Here.
Mayor Robert Flanagan,
Here.
and Commissioner Carter is not available for today's meeting.
Okay. Number 3, action items, resolution 2020-33.
okay, that's my resolution. I'm still not having a video, just a still picture, but let me go with the resolution. I'm asking the mayor and council to approve resolution 2020-33. This is a resolution to the city of Frostburg to award the contract to Lashley Construction Company for the construction of the CSO Elimination Phase 9B Stoyer Street Corridor project. Whereas the city of Frostburg is undertaking a 20-year, $25 million commitment to eliminate all combined sewer overflows, and whereas the city has developed plans and specifications and has successfully conducted competitive bidding for the CSO Elimination Project 9B Stoyer Street Corridor project, and whereas the Director of Public Works has indicated it would be in the best interest of the city to award the contract to the low bidder, Lashley Construction, and issue the notice to proceed prior to the Board of Public Works approval, limiting risk to the city and providing ability to start the project with ample time in the 2020 construction season. And whereas the project has received approval from the Maryland Department of Environment, and it has been indicated in writing to the city that construction may commence using budgeted local funds, but expenses incurred prior to the Board of Public Works approval may not be reimbursed by the Maryland Department of Environment. So therefore, I ask the Mayor and City Council to approve and award and issue the notice to proceed for the CSO Elimination Project 9B Stoyer Street Corridor project to Lashley Construction in the amount of $1,591,141 for the base bid and $464,946.25 towards the construction of extra work order number 1, pending the approval of the Maryland Board of Public Works. The notice to proceed is issued for expenses not to exceed $50,000 of an overall project cost, which may be incurred prior to the Board of Public Works approval. Following the approval of the Public Works for the CSO Elimination Project, the Director of Public Works is authorized to issue an additional notice to proceed for the remainder of the project. So I put this resolution in front of you and recommend its approval.
I just wanted to and Chris, please chime in, but take a minute to explain why, A, we're doing a resolution at work session, and B, why we're looking to issue a partial notice to proceed. When this project was put out for bid, it did have a longer than normal period in which the bids would be good for. But despite that, working through COVID had some additional delays. And then one of the things that Chris and Laura worked really hard on is because they got really good bids, and we had grant money that exceeded that, they were able to reconfigure the project to include this extra work order number 1. So all of that takes time between the engineer to add that into the project and get approval from Maryland Department of Environment, and then get Maryland Department of Environment to approve the whole entire bid package. And then once that's happened, which it has, it still needs to go to the Board of Public Works. And that's a state board that only meets once a month. And then the bids expire next Tuesday. So, which is the reason why this needs to be awarded here tonight rather than next week, because the bid would no longer be valid next week. And we could be in the situation of having to rebid the project, which we certainly don't want to do. So just a lot of different elements going on. I mean, I know it's been, no one I don't think's dropped the ball. It's just a lot of moving pieces. And no one in downstate being in the office, the coordination effort has been more difficult than normal. So is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Chris?
No, that's an excellent explanation, and we've never had a bid this competitive since 2003 and instead of the program. So we don't want to lose this great bid. You got a lot more work to get done with the same amount of money. So I appreciate the bid and really want to get started on it.
So Chris would be happy to answer questions, but if not, we'd ask for a motion and a second and a roll call vote.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-33.
I second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that worked. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Got 6 council meeting topics to discuss.
Yes, and for many of these, the documents are in a draft form and they're with other parties, and I just there's just a few things that need to be ironed out with a few of these things that I didn't feel it was appropriate to put on the agenda to look at, but I'll go over them, and then of course any of the final agreements, which I believe we should be able to get these finalized by next Thursday, will be on the council meeting agenda. So the first is the renewal of the lease for HRDC for the Frostburg Senior Center use of the community center. The initial plan in talking with HRDC was just to renew the lease, and our attorney was just going to update the lease for a new term. The fees for the annual rental would remain consistent, starting out at $10,200 and with a 2% escalator over the next 5 years, rounded so that we're not expecting, we can get whole numbers in that agreement. But with Michael Cohen, the city attorney, and I looking at it more in detail, the agreement just needed cleaned up. So no change, just more accurately describing the area that they lease, which is they have exclusive use to the front part of the building as the senior center, and then they have rights to use the meeting room during HRDC normal senior center hours, which are business hours Monday through Friday. And then the city has the authority to use or rent the meeting room space outside of those hours. So no change to the content. It's just working on cleaning up that agreement and making it more clear. And it would be for a period of 5 years again. The current lease expires at the end of September. So any questions on that?
Good. Everybody good?
Good.
I do have a question. I vaguely recall that the roof on that building needing to be replaced in I'm not sure what year, distant future or near future. I'm not sure what kind of shape it's in. Is that something we need to consider?
Chris, I know you worked on getting some of those repairs made. Could you speak about that?
Yes, we had a roof repair recently, I guess last year, and it turned out that the south side of the roof was the problem area, and we replaced half the roof. Probably in the next 5 years, we probably want to replace the other side of the roof. We did the side needed repaired because it was leaking bad with metal, and can't really see it, but it worked very, very well. Went well with the cost. It was a good price on getting it done. So yeah, I think it's in Brian's and my suggestion to replace the other side of the roof. As far as any other repairs, I think the building's in pretty good shape other than that. So I hope that answers your question, Elizabeth.
Yep.
It does. Thank you.
The rec department did find a issue with the one water heater in the building, and they were able to replace that with one of the ones they salvaged out of a Center Street property. So the whole rec department is always looking for a good deal. So
Nice.
thanks to Jean and them for that. The next one is the rifle range operating agreement. So the Frostburg rifle range has a rifle range and a pistol range. And the current agreement that was most recently signed allows 2 sportsmen's clubs to manage the rifle range with their commitment of maintaining the grounds and hosting public days once a month. The way that it had worked in the past is that the gate to the rifle range was jointly keyed. So the city had a lock in with one of our keys on it, but then it connected to a separate key and padlock used by the rifle or the sportsmen's clubs. And they were able to gain access and distribute those keys to their sportsmen's club members. We had an issue just before COVID where a person that was no longer a member of the rifle range we believe was not following the range rules, and a stray bullet struck the window of the state police way station up on 68. It did not penetrate it, but obviously it jarred the troopers working that day. So the state police opened an investigation. Brian held a meeting here with the Sportsman's Club and state police, and we had shut the range down until a new agreement could be put in place that safeguarded that from happening in the future. So in early 2000s, well, just the firing line on the rifle range, if you look at it, a aerial map, is a straight line to the way station on 68 with not as significant of an elevation change as you would think. So in the early 2000s, NRA came in and did an audit for the city and made recommendations. And so those recommendations were all implemented, and we got the blessing by the NRA inspector almost 20 years ago. I think it ended up being resolved in 2002. And then we drafted a new agreement in which probably the most significant change is all of the keys would be city keys, and they would need to be checked out from the police station, just like a city place key or a community center key, and returned on the same day. And it makes it very clear that a range safety officer needs to be on site at all times, whether it's, you know, a public day or a private day for the club's use. So Brian and I worked on, you know, making changes to the agreement that we thought would prevent such incidents from happening again. And then we sent that to the city attorney, who made it, you know, worded it properly for a legal agreement. And then that has been reviewed by the Maryland State Police state's attorney. And we've gone over maps and site schematics, and he was satisfied with everything that the city did and said we were okay to move forward to reopening it. So at this point in time, there's a few punch list items that we are waiting for the Sportsman's Club to provide feedback on, where they had some questions. And I expect as soon as we hear from them, that agreement can be finalized. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to iron that out by next week for your review. Our thought is what happened is the person that was shooting was not in the pavilion where the shooting benches are, which has like hang downs, so it prevents you from tilting your rifle barrel up. We believe they were out in front of that, which is how the bullet went too high. So with all of
Was that during a regular event, or was this person
No.
by?
That person was by themselves, and in theory should not have even had a key. The Sportsman Club should have had taken that back from them. And I mean, we know keys are hard to manage. Brian does a really good job for us here at the city. So we really thought just having that check-in, check-out process at the police station, which Chief Costello is agreeable to, really prevents any unauthorized access.
How many keys are going to be available for checkout?
You know, originally we talked about one, but then it was brought to our attention that every time a range safety officer goes to the site, they lock the gate behind them. So in theory, several people can be using the range on the same day. So we'll probably have 5 or 6 keys made. Our officers also use the range for their yearly certifications and other practices. So it's an important asset. The Sportsman's Clubs certainly appreciate it. And on their public days, anyone from the community that wants to go up and shoot is welcome to.
So are we pretty sure then that people will not be using it without a range safety officer present?
Yeah, that's very clear and specified
Is there a
very
list?
strongly in the new agreement, and they will have to submit a list on a monthly basis to the city of certified range officers, which the dispatchers who will be signing the keys out will have to compare it next to. And there will be log books that we can keep track of everyone on the range, as well as the range safety officer.
Okay.
Anyone else? You good?
Yeah, good.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
Liz.
Thank you. The next thing is there's two IT related expenses that we're going to be looking at incurring with the move to 37 Broadway. And the numbers are a little big, but I think the reason they seem big is because we've operated our IT on a shoestring and likely insufficient budget. When I hear about what Mike Schweitzer at the police department has cobbled together to make work, I think going forward and having real server rooms and all the appropriate equipment to manage the different systems is going to be really important. So there's two separate proposals that we have received from Allegheny Computer Services. We do have a service contract with them. And so looking to go with their recommendations here. The first quote is for all of the new hardware that's needed. And then the labor to move everything from 195 University Drive and from this building, 59 East Main to 37 Broadway. And everything, including the battery backups and the Cisco racks and switches and the Wi-Fi access points, and all the other just racking that they need. That is a total quote of $19,620. And then the other separate item that has been quoted is a phone system upgrade. Right now, our phone system here at City Hall is run off of traditional phone line, and we have no interconnection between any of the other departments. So they've proposed moving the city to a Cisco system, which are IP phones or would be over the internet phones. And the total price, we have downgraded many of the phones to be less fancy, because going from our practically rotary dial phones here to we don't
You're really
need,
pushing, Liz. You're pushing.
we don't need
The two cans and the string were working fine.
we don't need the really fancy phones for most of our users, except for the people that are fielding a lot of calls. But this is the server for those phones, the licensing through Cisco, the hardware through Cisco, 30 Cisco phones, and then this licensing software, as well as installation. So that price tag, I don't have a final number because of adjusting the phones, but I'd guess it to be somewhere around $43,000. One really positive thing about this is, well, there's several really positive things, is we'll be able to transfer calls in among departments. I know here at City Hall, it's pretty frustrating to tell someone, and I know it's frustrating for the other person calling, like, well, you're gonna have to hang up and call the street department now, or now we'll be able to transfer around. To our phone bill will be significantly reduced because rather than paying, we'll be saving hundreds of dollars a month in phone bill charges every month because of going over the cable line rather than over phone lines. And then this will have a lot of integrated technology. So with an app on your phone and on everyone's cell phone, so phone calls can be ported to cell phones, which would have been really handy to have that function during COVID and reduced working hours and time in the office. But then it'll also have like digital voicemail and things like that. So I know it seems like a really big upfront cost, but this is just standard way of doing business that the city just hasn't invested in previously. So any questions on that?
I think it's probably something we'd have to do sooner or later anyways.
Yeah.
But just, I'm just wondering, since this is an upfront cost and you say we're going to be paying on our, saving on our monthly phone bills, is there a sort of a rough estimate when we would break even? I mean, is it like way down the road?
I can have Elaine run those numbers for you. I didn't ask her for the specifics. There's a few phone lines that we'll need to keep for police and fax, but I can have her run the numbers.
It's just out of curiosity, actually.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
Everybody's good?
Yep, good.
Okay. All right, Liz.
Okay. Thank you.
Entering the 21st century.
Yeah. So the phone room right now at City Hall is in the basement where all the regular phone lines come in and then go out. But because the basement is 100 years old and damp, they've like wrapped the phone system with saran wrap to try and keep the moisture out of it. So yeah, it'll be a bit of an upgrade.
I've seen that. It looks good down there.
Okay, next, change orders. I thought I might get away of a month without change orders for 37 Broadway. But the one that I've talked about coming, they're ready to move forward on. I just don't have the approved documents from the architect yet, but that would be a card access system. So keying of the building was included in the contract, but a digital card access system was not. And so it's probably around $17,000 for all the hardware and software needed for that card access system. But it's going to allow, with City Hall and Police Department sharing a building now, and it's going to allow for the police to come in from the outdoors in without fooling with a key and travel throughout the building, staff to be able to travel throughout the building without needing to get out keys. But certain doors would be locked from certain staff, or certain doors would be accessible to staff but not the public. So it'll just make that flow throughout the building much more efficient and convenient. It also provides an increased element of security, as everyone will know who is going. There will be record of what doors were opened by what key cards within the software capabilities. And then the dispatcher at the police department will be able to monitor all of the doors with the electronic openers from her console, and be able to open doors as needed, because there's video security that goes along with the card access doors. So there's a picture tied to who's with the door at the time. So the architect had originally planned for it, and then because of cost concerns, that was cut. And then because of the grant for $500,000 that the city received from the state, we thought it was in the best interest to go ahead and add that back in and move forward with it. So, and then one of the rooms within the jail cell area that was formerly a juvenile cell, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, that's being converted into the prisoner processing room where the fingerprinting will be done. And that has like a jail cell door on it, which is a little too heavy duty for those purposes. So there will be an additional change order to replace that heavy steel door with a hollow metal door that'll have the key card access on it. And then there's in the lobby, it's a 2-story lobby off of Broadway. And in the plans between the architect and the engineer that designed the lighting, a couple light fixtures got missed in the bid. So we kind of need to have lights in the lobby. So that'll be included in the change order as well, to add a few light fixtures. The door and the light fixtures are not too much. I haven't seen a final approved change order from the architect on that either. So altogether, it's probably going to be about 20,000 would be my guess.
Okay.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Okay.
There is some credits coming our way, but they haven't processed those yet. So that's always good news as well.
Good. Good.
Okay.
Okay. The next item I have on the agenda is a service agreement with Principal Labs to lease them city space to have a COVID testing site. Principal Labs in Allegheny County, my contact has been someone local to Allegheny County, but they are based out of Pennsylvania. And they have been doing testing at Beckman's Pharmacy, but it's my understanding that Beckman's Pharmacy is changing their business model, and the COVID testing site agreement is coming to an end with them. And Todd Finan from Principal Labs reached out to the city to see if there would be an opportunity to relocate this testing site to Frostburg. So I did talk to Brian Voda, Director of Parks and Rec, about a space that we could allow this company to use as a testing site. And we felt that the carpeted room at City Place made the most sense. That doesn't, and it would be for only Monday through Wednesday. They weren't necessarily looking for a full-time schedule. The farmers market is on Friday. Your meetings are occasionally on Thursday. Community development has several meetings at City that could fall at City Place on Wednesday evenings on the garage side right now. So we felt that the Monday through Wednesday hours were acceptable to the city and met their needs. The way this agreement is written right now is that the city would not gain any revenue from this. This was originally Principal Labs agreement, a services lease agreement that really did not meet the city's needs. It was, it kind of fell more in line with going into an existing pharmacy or something. And so Michael Cohen, our city attorney, has rewritten this to suit the city's needs. And then a few things have been redlined that we sent it back to Principal Labs. It was our understanding that the lab would collect a facility use fee, and they will not. They can only do the insurance billing. So it's not in the city's interest to sit up there and collect a facility use fee for people that might walk in. It's my understanding that their testing is either paid for by the insurer or it is paid for by the Maryland Uninsured Fund. They're not collecting cash from patients that are going to get COVID tested, but this And they do have a standing doctor's order, or will have a standing doctor's order with a relationship with a doctor in the area, so that they're authorized to get the test. But there has to be reason for that doctor to authorize for them to get the test. So there has to be those doctor's orders. The agreement does have the city just being responsible for maintaining the building, but the lab should have to clean the building. And then there's this some changes to the negligence. That here in red line about that the laboratory felt comfortable with. So, last month there was a lot of discussion about having a COVID testing site in the city. I have talked to the mayor about this, as well as Commissioner Forsyth some, but I felt that it was best to just get this agreement prepared for your consideration, to see if it would even be something that Principal Labs would agree to. And they are agreeable to this redlined version. Michael Cohen feels relatively comfortable with it as well, thinking there really isn't a lot of liability that the city is taking on under the terms of this agreement. So it's allowing Principal Labs to use a space at the city at no cost, other than their expense to clean the facility to do COVID testing in the community. So the agreement is ready for your consideration, but I'll take any direction from you.
So we're not charging any rental for that.
Correct.
And it ends up being a service to residents because they do not have to pay to use the services. I understand actually that Principal Labs has a fund for people who don't have insurance, and that if people are not covered by the Maryland health insurance or their own insurance, that they will be covered by Principal Labs fund.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have to have a referral.
Yeah, apparently.
But they have a relationship with a doctor, so I don't exactly know how that works. But Todd Finan did indicate that they had a local doctor that they established a relationship with for the orders to have the test done. And they do both the active virus testing as well as the antibody testing.
I can't really see on the thing where do we need to specify what the cleaning should consist of, or leave it up to them to define it? I think
That's a really good idea. I would want to see that once they're done with the use of that building, that there is a deep clean.
At the end of
Agree with it. Yeah.
And they will also be cleaning in between.
Yeah, and sanitation of all common surfaces, things like that. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to specify for sure.
Great.
Yeah, especially if you're going to have people coming in, renting the facility.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, that sounds good to me. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think that getting one in the city is a positive thing for sure.
Mhm.
Yes. And I understand also Aon Lab is wanting to set up testing at Walgreens, or maybe Pharmacare. I think Walgreens, or maybe both.
Okay. I know they're working to expand their testing capabilities right here in Frostburg, which is very cool.
There's the other advantage to having principal labs do this Monday through Wednesday is results will get to people sooner, because before, if they were doing testing on a Thursday or Friday, people it would depend on when the FedEx could pick up the samples and ship them to the lab. And then there was the weekend. So there could be 4 days until people got their results, and then it's not as useful. Whereas with a Monday through Wednesday, they can get their results most likely within 2 days.
What are the hours?
Off my memory, I want to say they wanted their hours to be between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I think Michael may have, I can't remember where it is in the agreement. So,
I saw it somewhere. I can't remember.
oh,
now.
there it is. Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So,
And how long is the agreement good for?
the laboratory,
Termination. The term is 1 year.
Okay.
thank you.
It is subject to, it shall automatically renew each year subject to the terms of section 1.2, which means that either party can terminate.
With 30 days advance.
With 38. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay, all good?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I have an easy one now.
Say the best for last.
In 2018, oh, Elaine, do you want to do this one? I have you down for it.
I'm fine to do this.
Okay, thanks.
In 2018, a resolution was passed that would allow for limited paid overtime for defined emergencies during the winter season, beginning November 1st through March 31st. This was a change of policy because prior to this resolution, all overtime other than holidays was just comp time for employees. So this action also specified that the overtime pay would begin at 6 p.m. on Friday evenings through 6 a.m. on Monday mornings. And just over the past 2 winter seasons, we determined from a practical standpoint and working with the street department supervisor and water department that it didn't work well with the typical working hours of employees, and it provided a gap where they may have ended their normal shift and for a short period of time they earned comp time, and then they had to switch to overtime on the timesheets, and it was just confusing. So the recommendation is to revise this so that the limited paid overtime for the winter weekends would begin at the end of the normal workday on Friday. So it would begin at 3 p.m. on Friday afternoons, and it would continue through 7 a.m. on Monday mornings. So that would cover all of the weekend hours that are not part of the normal work schedule. So other than that, all
That
the
mainly
other
affects,
items.
that mainly affects the street department then?
It applies to street, water, and rec. If it's defined, as an emergency call out. It doesn't apply if there's a scheduled overtime. For example, if there was a Christmas parade and they were working on a Saturday, that's a schedule that would still be comp time. But if they were called out to plow snow, it would apply to that. If they were held over after 3 p.m. on a Friday, then paid overtime would start at 3 p.m. It wouldn't have to wait till 6 p.m. to be paid overtime.
we discussed this before, didn't we?
Mhm.
The mayor thought we had as well, and we can't find a resolution to that effect.
Yeah. I think we all had all good intentions and somehow or other got lost in the shuffle. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think we're all agreeable to this one.
It just makes sense.
Yeah.
The supervisors will appreciate the changes. They're trying to do their timesheets in the winter.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Discussion items, solar power.
Yes. So we were approached sometime last year by Keystone Power Holdings about a possible power purchase agreement. It would involve a solar array that would serve the city's portion of the city's electricity needs. I was a little bit hesitant because we had had discussions with two other solar companies and about a possible power purchase agreement, and it went nowhere because our power requirements aren't that great, and the cost of power in this area is very low. And the two companies before, they do huge arrays. This particular company, they were very, very persistent, and they specialize in small and medium-sized cities, small and medium-sized projects. And they have worked up a proposal for a 745 kilowatt site. It would be about 5 acres, I think is what they said. And it would not involve any upfront costs for us, nor any operational costs. They would do all the maintenance. It would be for a 30-year agreement to generate the electricity, to purchase the electricity that is generated at this site at a fixed rate. The starting rate would be 0.064, so like 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which right now is about 6% below the utility rate. But there would be an annual escalator of 2%. They say the historical utility rate increase average is more than 4%. It would be kind of like, so these are all projections. So, maybe things escalate faster. Maybe they don't escalate as fast. It's sort of it's sort of a bet that things would escalate at the rate that they're currently escalating, in which case we would save about $850,000 over 30 years. We also would have the opportunity to buy out the whole site, starting at 10 years, and then at 15 years, we can decide to buy them out and own the whole system ourselves. And, so that it would be a greater savings for us, but we would also then assume the maintenance costs. So right now, we're in an agreement with Constellation, and we have contacted our power broker to look over the agreement to see if it would in any ways impact that agreement. And they also, the broker has its own solar people who, they also cover other people who do solar. So they have offered to do a comparison between this proposal and what some of their other solar companies could provide to see, where it falls. Maybe we could get a better deal. So right now we're kind of waiting to hear from them to see what they say. And if you have any questions, we can raise them with either Keystone Power Holdings or the power broker.
Where's the proposed site?
So right now, they have looked at two possible sites that were right beyond city limits, right beyond the Cougar Field, Glendenning Park. The proposal includes the cost of leasing either of those two 5-acre sites that are right now hay fields. Or there might be other areas around the city. There isn't anything actually in the city that we own that looks like it might be a really good site to locate. This would be a ground mounted site, not a rooftop site.
So, I mean, who is going to be the beneficiary of the power? Is it City
It would be
Hall?
the city directly.
It would be like our hydroelectric turbine in that it's just net metered. So whatever electricity we generate comes off of our collective bills for the whole city, all of the city bills. So pump stations, buildings.
Let's see, I'm trying to see. I think, did they say it would take, Elizabeth, you might remember, they said at our meeting about what it would cover. Did they say like 80%? Something like that?
I thought it was 90 to 95%.
90,
They
okay.
didn't want to do 100%.
Yeah, right. I knew it was less than 100, but I couldn't remember exactly. Okay, so 90 to 95%, which, that's huge.
What is the the average annual cost to maintain something like that?
That I don't know. That would be something that we would have to look into if we decided to buy it out, unless you're thinking of actually doing our own. That would be a lot of upfront costs for us, though, if we do it on our own.
And what about in the wintertime, with snow and things of that? I mean, I don't know how far off the ground they sit. Do you have any idea?
They're up on these racks. Have you seen the one down by the sewage treatment plant in Cumberland? They're like, about three, the lower edge of the panels is about 3 feet off the ground, something like that.
Right.
3 feet, something like that.
Yeah, my concern would be like if you're going to put it in a hay field, like that, and how the wind is around here. I mean, do they have to come in and clean the snow off of the?
I doubt it. I doubt they do.
Right.
So
you're
sorry. In the winter, and on cloudy days, probably, the power, there would still be power generated, but it would probably go down a little bit. If there's snow on it, it would go down a little bit. The thing about solar panels is that if there's snow on it, and then as soon as the sun starts shining, the panel itself helps to melt the snow. So it kind of increases the heat. So it melts off fairly rapidly. Now, if it's a cloudy day, not nearly as rapidly.
Do we know anywhere, or could we get the information on any possible people that already have a similar system that we could talk?
Yeah, they do. They do have some references in here that we can contact.
Okay.
Are you interested in getting references of people who have PPAs in particular, or solar arrays?
Probably the solar
Arrays.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we could even contact Cumberland about that.
Yeah, just to see, how they're faring with it, how it's working out for them. I'd be just curious to know.
Sure. Yeah. Let me write this down, and I'll see if I can contact. I can also contact some of these references that they gave us, that to see what it was like for them.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be good. Yeah, see what their experience has been so far, if they would do it again, I guess,
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Contact references.
I know, I think Commissioner Forsyth, but I was excited to see about Tradition Energy being able to kind of have their solar team look at this for us. Because I'm, certainly not an expert in power purchase agreements or solar. So having them vet any proposal to make sure that it is a good deal, and dealing both in traditional energy sources as well as solar and doing that comparison, I think that could really benefit us in the future. So hopefully they come through with us for us on that.
Yeah, that would be cool if, one of them is able to do that. One of the reasons it is really cost effective is that as a city, we are not eligible for any of the federal or state credits because we don't pay those taxes. However, this company these solar companies are eligible for them. And so they can apply for, like, right now it's a 26% federal tax credit, and I can't remember what the state offers on these. And then that lowers the overall cost of.
They pass savings on to us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so I will see about the experience of these references and also Cumberland.
Good. Okay. Very good, Nina. Thank you.
You bet.
Next is Elaine is going to talk to you about a draft policy she's come up with as a result of Maryland Public Service Commission. Last week they did a emergency notice regarding when shutoffs of water and sewer utilities can resume. The city doesn't actually fall under this ruling. The Public Service Commission doesn't have authority over us in this regard. They only have authority over certain water and sewer utilities. So, but all that being said, the expectation of the public is that this Public Service Commission ruling applies. So Elaine has talked to some counterparts at other jurisdictions here locally and kind of talked to them about what they're doing and has come up with this plan for your consideration.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So the governor executive order that prohibited service terminations and late fees expired on September the 1st. This has been in effect since mid-March. So for any of our utility customers, we have not been able to assess them any kind of penalty for failure to pay, and we have not been able to terminate their service, which is our typical recourse if people don't pay their bills. Now, as Elizabeth mentioned, the Public Service Commission for their regulated entities is prohibiting terminations of service through November 15th. So while we are not required to follow that, that is one of the timeframes that we are looking at. So I've kind of broken down some suggestions for your consideration of what we can do for our customers now that we are no longer under the governor's executive order, and to be able to pursue collection of our utilities. So first, I'm going to address the residential customers. So the recommendation would be that we would resume posting interest on unpaid balances from the stated due dates effective immediately. So we are now in the beginning of our new quarterly residential billing cycle. And so we will be mailing those bills out probably as early as tomorrow. So in essence, anyone who has an unpaid balance on their utility bill would be charged the interest as stated in our fee schedule, which is 1.5% on their past due balances. Second recommendation would be to temporarily suspend shutoff notification fees for this first round of shutoff notices that will be sent. Typically, under our code, we are allowed to charge a shutoff notification fee, which is 10% of the account balance or $20, whichever is higher. So the recommendation to assist customers would be to not assess that shutoff notification fee just for this round of shutoffs. We would also recommend mailing shutoff notices for delinquent balances on October the 1st. And this would be to any customer who has a delinquent balance at that time. Our traditional method is we stagger our shutoff notifications based on our different billing areas in town. But because we anticipate having so many customers that could be impacted by this, and to make it more efficient for us to track the date of the notices being sent and the due dates, it would be better to send all notices on October the 1st. So a bill would be considered delinquent under our code definition if it is due and unpaid 90 days from the billing date. So this would be for anything that was billed prior to July 2nd, 2020. If it's still unpaid as of October 1st, it would fall under this shutoff notification. We would issue a new shutoff letter that would have more information than is typically in our letters. We would notify customers that the utility terminations would resume November 15th. So that's giving them a full 45 days from the date of the notice. Payment would be due, or they have to have a payment plan approved. Our code only requires us to give 10-day notification. So this is much longer than what the code requires. So also under the city code, the commissioner must approve payment plans. Again, this could be overwhelming depending on the number of customers. So we would like, as opposed to doing personalized payment plans, which the city is known for, if a customer has an issue paying their bill, they'll contact us, we'll make special arrangements, we'll have them contact Commissioner Forsyth. But so that we have uniformity, both with the expectations of the customers and for city staff who will have to be managing and monitoring these payments, we would like just to have a standard payment plan option for people. They would need to have a payment plan over a period of time not to exceed 4 months, and we would want this to be in writing. Also, the recommendation is to make clear to the customers that even if they do have an approved payment plan, interest would continue to accrue on the unpaid balance. We don't want to create an incentive for people not to pay in a timely manner. If they're able to pay, we don't need to give interest-free loans, in essence, over an extended payment period. And then if a customer failed to make a payment according to the payment plan to which they had agreed to, then they would be subject to termination of service on the day. And we would actually need to receive the payments by the due dates. We couldn't accept postmarks to avoid confusion among the customers. So we would also want to provide the customers with a list of resources for energy assistance. There isn't assistance necessarily available for water bills, but there is other assistance available through the Maryland Energy Assistance Program, through HRDC, and sometimes through social services if there are children in the home. So we would provide them information on those programs. Basically, the same recommendations are in place for commercial customers, except there's really no energy assistance program information we can provide to them. but it would be a similar scenario. We would start charging interest immediately, which is what our counterparts have done in other local jurisdictions. So we have bills that are going out as early as tomorrow. So if a commercial customer has a delinquent balance, they would be charged interest. And we would include them in the shut-off notices and offer them the same opportunity for a payment plan not to exceed 4 months. And interest would accrue on their unpaid balance. So our typical procedure is that when we issue a shut-off letter, we require the entire account balance to be paid in full. And we recognize due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been a lot of hardships on families. And so for this round of shut-off notifications, and also the fact that we're overlapping with the normal quarterly billing cycle for residential customers, staff recommends that we specify that the shut-off notice would only apply to the delinquent portion of their account balance. So anything that was billed prior to July 2nd would need to be paid to avoid shut-off with this round of shut-offs. And then the goal, of course, would be that, you know, they would have an opportunity then to catch up on their account before we did another round of shut-offs in early 2021. So staff would work towards developing a method of efficiently tracking who has applied for a payment plan, who's been issued a shut-off notification, and we would develop, you know, these special letters under these circumstances to communicate this information clearly to the customers. So we definitely seek your input and your recommendation as we pursue this. It's been a challenge during the governor's executive order to be able to pursue collections. We've sent what we called courtesy letters to anyone who had delinquent balances, just reminding them, you know, we recognize you're behind on your account. Please make payments as you're able to. And we have had a good number of people who have responded and have made partial payments on their accounts. Some have paid their accounts in full, but unfortunately, we also have a number of customers who are much farther behind. Some of our quarterly customers have 3/4 of bills unpaid. And we have some commercial customers, unfortunately, that also are several months behind. So we'd like to be able to work with them, but within limitations that we as a staff can manage. And like I said, to provide uniformity and also not to overwhelm the commissioner with a multitude of special requests.
I appreciate that. Balancing the water department's budget is difficult enough in normal times. A while back, you sent a summary of how we stand right now. I don't have it in front of me. Do you have that in front of you too? Like how far behind we are?
As far as the dollar amount of receivables, or
Yes. Yeah.
I do not have that with me. I could email that to you tomorrow.
I think you already did email it to me. I just have to look it up.
Yeah, as far as the aging of our receivables, the dollar amount definitely has been higher than the same period a year ago. And it is a challenge, and it affects not only the water fund, but because our bills cover water, sewer, and garbage, it crosses multiple funds. And we count on those surcharges to be able to make our debt service payments. So it's very wide encompassing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have any recommendations of things that we should adjust before we implement this policy, I'd be open to hear those.
Do you have Elaine, do you have anything written up yet, or do you need to do that yet? As far as policy goes.
She has it all written up, Mayor.
Okay.
She's not-
You could maybe just email it to us and give us a chance to give it a look.
It's just not on your screen because of your
Oh.
technical difficulties.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. Well,
I'll
you can
work on
email to,
that.
that's fine.
But again, it's a timely matter because if we are going to make it effective for this billing cycle, as far as interest goes,
Okay, okay.
on past due balances, I really do need that determination today. If you
Okay.
determine that you want to not charge interest, as far as it being fair for customers, we would then have to wait until 2 months from now for,
When we'll do
to
that.
institute that.
All right, everybody else good?
Yeah, I think it's necessary.
Madam
Yeah,
Town?
I mean,
Yeah.
Nina, how do you feel about it? Are you good with it? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to parse when someone is really in difficulty and when someone's trying to take advantage of the system. And so I do appreciate there being kind of a uniform policy, because I'm not a mind reader. And also there being the backup of like the HRDC and other places where people can get help if they really truly don't have the ability to pay their bills. So, and, we're kind of easing back into our regular policy, which I also appreciate because you don't want to suddenly lower the hammer on people, who've been behind for months now.
And that was one of the reasons for giving an extended period of time for them either to pay their balance or to make a payment plan, giving 45 days as opposed to, the typical 10-day or sometimes we would do 3 weeks, even on a typical shut-off notice. So this is an extended period of time, but it really will fall on, the property owner to take that action and contact us, to work something out. It's also going to be approaching the holiday season, which from experience, I know a lot of people who would fall on the shut-off list would contact the city and ask for extensions on their utility accounts, because of holiday expenses. But again, we have to operate the utility funds as a private business would. And while our hearts are sensitive, we are subject to the limitations of what are, the requirements we have to collect and run these operations efficiently from a financial standpoint.
All right,
I'm good with it.
Yeah, good.
good,
Okay.
okay, we're all in agreement.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Elaine,
Thank you, Elaine.
Elaine, you have one more update on the agenda regarding the BB&T account and the change to the bank accounts based on information you received.
Right, and this is just an informational item. Back in the beginning of this calendar year, we were able to work with BB&T to improve the account structure of the city's accounts so that we would begin earning more interest income each month. And that was a wonderful thing to look forward to. We were looking at potentially $60,000 of interest income in a year. That would be net after the $500 per month fee. That's back when interest rates were at about 1.25% pre-COVID. And in February 2020, we did earn about $5,000 of interest that month. However, after the COVID-19 pandemic hit and interest rates have tanked, the latest statement, we are now at 0.05%. So we have come to a point where the $500 monthly fee exceeds the interest we are earning. The interest in August was only about $225. So in working with BB&T, we have Tracy B. Miller, who is a senior vice president. He's a business services officer. He's our contact at the Oakland office. And then Krista Welch Clark. She's an assistant vice president and she's in their payment solutions division. They're the same two people we worked with at the beginning of the calendar year to improve the city's account structure. They are now working with us to help resolve this issue that we have because of the interest rates dropping so much. They are going to be switching the city's accounts back as of October 1st to the way it was prior, to January 2020. So we will go back to the old account structure where instead of showing interest income on the bank account statements each month and showing a fee, what they do is the city's accounts have what they call earnings credits. So based on your account balances and basis points and all their calculations, in essence, your earnings credits offset your fees. So we'll go back to a zero situation. We won't see interest income, but we won't see a fee.
Right.
And that will go into effect October 1st. We will continue to monitor interest rates. Both Tracy and Krista were not optimistic based on what they're hearing from the Fed that rates will improve over the next year. But I will continue to monitor rates and reach out to them. They also have it on their tickler to continue to watch the city's accounts and monitor that again in a few months. And when it behooves the city to go back, to the interest earning structure, we will do that. But unfortunately, at this time, we're just in a position based on interest rates that we just are not going to see interest income. So it is out of our control.
Yes.
We're
Very
doing
much.
the best that we can to be good stewards of the city's money.
Mhm.
I just wanted you to be aware of that change.
Okay.
Thank you, Elaine.
You're
Yeah, thank you.
welcome.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. Next, briefly, I just wanted to speak with you about the OPT request for proposal or Nickel building. We did put out the request for proposal for the purchase of that building. We revised it significantly at the end of July, beginning of August. And Laura Michael here in the office has been speaking with several people, giving tours of the building. For whatever reason, there seems to be renewed interest in the building. My question or my suggestion, looking for your approval, if we are to receive more than one proposal, I'd like to have an outside committee review those proposals. So city influence in terms of knowing anybody or things like that. Staff can strike names, and then it can be a blind comparison on the merits of the proposal. I know someone at the county that gave us the funds or worked with us to allocate those city funds or county funds to that building is interested in serving, and I'm thinking of reaching out to Frostburg State and Small Business Development Center as well. The proposal should be very short based on the new RFP that was put together. But I just would feel better with that recommendation coming from a third party panel than from the city staff that at this point are biased or jaded or whatever about that building. So does that seem agreeable to you all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if there is only one proposal, which at least one, that would just come to you. Probably not until your October work session and meeting, unless circumstances dictate otherwise. So,
Okay, Liz, you're good.
okay. And then Halloween.
Ooh.
So I don't know who I was talking to about Halloween, but I got thinking about what a parade would be like in COVID 2020. And in my mind, it would be no candy, no dancers, no
Boo.
performers, and no bands. So we'd end up with a bunch of politicians without candy and some
Boo.
fire trucks. And no offense, but aside from the fire trucks, I think it'd be pretty boring.
Just let the kids want to come out and see.
Maybe let the kids drive the fire trucks. That'd be exciting.
Brian has been working with the Parks and Rec faculty at FSU to kind of brainstorm some alternative ideas, virtual ideas to do in lieu of the traditional Halloween party that they have at City Place. One an idea that Brian and I kind of came up with and tossed around here this week that I kind of wanted to pitch to you is, instead of doing a traditional parade, still give the children an opportunity to get dressed up and do a socially distant outdoor just costume parade on city streets around City Place. And City Place could still be open, and the city could have pre-packaged like bag of candy to give to each child, do like a photo op real quick, and give them their pumpkin that we normally would give out during the Halloween party, have their pumpkin ready to go, and kind of just like everyone could kind of funnel through City Place and then go out on the streets for a parade and get to show off their costume. Halloween is on a Saturday this year, so we were kind of thinking afternoon, so it was daylight out and just kind of something to do, but have a decent amount of the city streets blocked off that, you know, a decent amount of people can participate and still have, you know, their own personal family space. And then, of course, invite the fire department to participate and bring some trucks out and have their lights going and things like that. I know what they did on Easter was a big hit, and trying to involve them here. Obviously, the police would be invited to help with traffic and show off their cars and selves as well.
So what
And Nick
will
could
the
wear his
mayor dress
costume.
what will the mayor dress up as on top of the fire truck? Like
Hey, that's a big surprise. Can't give that one away. Just you wait.
I think it is a good idea to have to have the kids dress up and be outside in the streets, and still kind of mark Halloween and have fun without having everybody all packed together inside City Place.
Yeah.
We won't have a band, maybe piped in music. Do you think?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Something very haunty jaunty. Jaunty haunty.
Yeah, and it's going to definitely take some work on Brian's part to figure out how to set things up that people coming through City Place are staggered, and parking and all of that. But, I think FSU students and the faculty will work with us to pull something off. So does that sound like a reasonable plan
Yes.
to you all?
Yeah.
Maybe Barb Armstrong would even allow us to use the garage if we need like extra space or something.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the city's plan of participation, but or is there any talk about door to door?
That's the other issue.
Has there been guidance from the state health department about that yet?
Not that Brian and I have seen.
Yeah.
Our thought was that Brian's thought is if the city were to come out and say no trick or treating, there'd still be people that did it anyway. The porch light on or off has always been a very good indicator of whether you are willing to participate in having trick or treaters come to your house or not. And then the other thought was, the city, if we weren't going to say no to trick or treating and leaving it up to the individual neighborhoods. I mean, with Halloween being on a Saturday night, I think it's pretty common sense that people would only be trick or treating on Halloween night. That guidance could be put out of how to best trick or treat safely as a trick or treater and or a person giving out snacks.
You know, we've like, you know, we've taken our children around and stuff, and I think one thing we could talk about is maybe, you know, they kind of do the honor system where there's not necessarily, you just put a bowl of candy out of there and, you know, each kid can take one. That does eliminate some contact there, you know.
Yeah.
Or you could have a basket on the end of a stick.
That's cute. That's
Well,
the whole candy's
Yeah,
expensive.
I saw one on Facebook that was the lady had a 4-inch piece of plastic pipe, and she ran it down her porch, and she put the candy in at the top, and the basket hung at the bottom. So
Like a shoot.
People want to see those kids in their costumes, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of it's a fairly low contact activity, and people are wearing masks anyway, in a way, you know, not the COVID masks, but still you could actually, if we could like put out ideas, I'm sure somebody will do this, and we could like attach a video or something, ideas for costumes that incorporate COVID type masks. You know, even people who are giving out candy can wear them, you know, make them part of a costume to hand out candy with. I'm sure there are lots of good ideas out there.
I think too that you could all too, we could put out, you know, maybe homeowners having some hand sanitizer around too, you know, that
Yeah.
kids could use, or, you know, at least encourage them to use, you know.
But not substitute that for the candy.
Yeah. Here's your hand sanitizer. Happy Halloween.
The neighborhood I grew up in had a dentist, and no one ever wanted the toothbrush from the dentist.
We got a few of those, I remember.
All good stuff.
Before we adjourn, I have something which I guess is food for thought for everybody, but I monitored the zoning board meeting last night, and LJ can help me with this if I've got this wrong. One of the commissioners, I think Commissioner Bachman, made a stipulation to the bridge program going to St. John's that they asked for a drop-off site on Broadway of two parking spots. I think my understanding, LJ, was it wasn't necessary for us to approve it, but they had to ask. Am I correct?
You are correct, Commissioner. Thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to bring up that discussion item with you all this afternoon. Both in the Planning Commission meeting, where a favorable recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals was sought and achieved, and in last night's Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, commissioners of both boards recommended to the bridge program that they request that the 2 parking spaces directly in front of 58 South Broadway be somehow dedicated as a drop-off pickup zone for parents bringing children to and from the bridge program. The stipulation was not that the mayor and council must approve that, because obviously there's no way to know that in advance, and they don't tell you what to do. But that was something that they felt would increase safety for the coming and going of parents and children, and thought would be easy enough to do. So the request was made that the bridge program appeal to you and ask you if they may have some signage for those 2 front parking spaces in regard to a drop-off zone. And I have received a paragraph from representatives of the bridge program that if you don't mind, I would read it to you. It should be very brief. and give you an idea of exactly what they're thinking?
Sure.
Okay. St. John's Episcopal Church is very pleased to be partnering with the Bridge to ensure that quality after-school care is available for working parents of children at Bell Elementary. During the special exception process, both boards asked that we approach the City Council about having 2 designated drop-off and pick-up parking spots in front of the house, and that is the parsonage that's 58 South Broadway. Here is some information that may be useful as you consider this request. Number 1, children are walked from Bell Elementary to the center under the supervision of the center staff at the end of the normal school day. Number 2, when leaving the center, individual children are always escorted from the building by parents. Parents must come inside to collect their child, and in the event that they are dropping off, they must escort the child inside also. There are not any regularly scheduled bus pickups or drop-offs. In the past, the school system has on occasion placed special needs children at the facility, and sometimes they have a van that transports them. Number 4, there is employee parking in the back along the alley. And number 5, the center is licensed to care for children from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., but not open all day long as a matter of practice. We agree that having a special parking designation would add to the safety of the children and the convenience of the parents. We also understand that resident street side parking is always a crunch at this section of Broadway, and that will only increase in the near future. We trust the council to make the best decision, taking into account all the needs in the area. Should the council agree, the question then becomes, do you designate it for specific hours or for 24/7? The hours would need to be at a minimum 4 to 6:30 p.m. There is also morning before school hours from 6 to 8. During the current school online situation, the center is designated as a care center for essential parents, which could result in drop-offs all day. We look forward to hearing the input of the police chief on the hours issue, since the decision should be 100% based on enforcement. We understand that it might not be advisable to block those spaces 24/7 and keep residents from parking there on the weekends, etc. Given that, we feel comfortable that the council, with the input of the police chief, will make the best decision for the neighborhood. And that's the end of the statement that I received. But that essentially encapsulates the request and is, I think we're all basically asking for guidance that should you agree a 2 parking space drop off and pickup zone is reasonable, then how would we structure the hours?
I mean, we've had other requests for, people wanting certain parking spots, and stuff like that. We've had to turn them down in the past. I don't know, I understand this situation's probably a little different, but I mean, we're still, are we showing favoritism, to one person and not another? Thoughts?
Yeah. Kevin?
Yeah, that's a possibility that once you open that up, that other places would say, hey, we need 2 parking places also. And then what do you see? I mean, you take them as they come. I understand the need for what they want there. So I mean, maybe we could try to work something out. Again, like that, the big thing would be if somebody else somewhere else wanted two parking spots, how do you then say no to them?
Yeah.
Right.
Because again, this, even though it's a great program, it is a business.
The private enterprise.
It's not a charitable thing. It is a business. So that's what we have to look at. Will another business want the same opportunity?
Yeah. Is there any parking at the rear of the parsonage?
There is. There are 2 spaces at the back of the parsonage, and they're right on the alley. And then there's and then you would walk up to the rear of the parsonage.
Okay.
Well, and could that maybe be something we looked at to allow them to do the drop off in the alley behind?
I'm sure that's something we can look at. I mean, you know, if we can find, if this is not something you find favorable, we can certainly look at other alternatives and see what we can come up with.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a can of worms that we can open up, you know.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
I
Yeah, I think
remember
it's-
that phrase being used in the past in regard to parking requests.
But I think that the important thing for everybody to know is that our decision is not a make or break on this whole situation. It's still
Okay.
going to happen. So there's
Right.
a little less pressure there. It's not like they're saying, if you don't give them these 2 spots, they can't do it.
Right.
That's correct. They simply made a stipulation that this request at least be made.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
It's
I-
definitely less
my feeling
convenient.
was to bring it out because more than likely somebody from that organization will be at our council meeting next Thursday. And so we're a little bit ahead of the game. Instead of looking at it then and going forward, we'll already have a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, very good, Kevin. LJ, thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I'm, you know, again, it is a private business. And I'm, again, using Adam's terminology, the worms will get loose. And I don't know how we'll rack them back into the can properly and seal it back up. So I'd like to look for some other option here.
Mhm.
Agreed.
It's definitely less convenient because that alley is a lot narrower. And it spills in, it's one way, right?
No,
Goes into a
That's
one-way
good.
as far as I can
It
remember.
goes,
Yeah, you can't come out here.
No, yeah, that's a one-way going north.
okay. So that does make it a little bit less convenient. On the other hand, well, are the people running the bridge program actually intending to use those 2 parking spaces because they'll be staffing it?
That was definitely discussed in the meeting, that those 2 rear parking spaces would suit staff.
You would think the staff could use the church parking spaces.
Yeah, usually, yeah, because those spaces they tend to be open all day long. In
Right.
fact, I imagine even people dropping off their kids could be using those spaces because that back parking lot, you know, it's fairly free most of the time.
All right. So we have a situation where there's parking availability. It may not be as close to doors some would like, but I mean, it's definitely available.
You could maybe encourage the staff to use the church parking lot so that parents dropping off their kids could just be a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Well,
We
and, you
definitely
know,
don't want
and you know, the people, the staff there, they have an opportunity to park on the street and in public parking also. You know, may not be, you know, as close as they would like it, but there's still that opportunity there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're pretty much all in agreement here, but again, that the ideal situation that they're looking for, we probably can't accommodate. But it's not that they're literally landlocked and there's no other options for them.
Mhm.
no.
Okay,
Good.
that is all I have, Mayor. I'm not sure if you have anything additional.
I guess just remind everybody that the Legion's having a special event Friday night, beginning at 7:00, to remember 9/11. I know we've all been asked to participate. I will be participating. Kevin, are you going to be joining me?
Yes.
Okay. So if anyone else is available, I believe we're going to be at the front of Mountain Ridge at 7:30. So just I hope the folks will come out and just to have kind of a moment to remember those we lost on 9/11, and hope that that never happens again. And I'm sure it'll be a very nice evening.
Good.
Anyone else have anything? Okay.
Wellness Wednesdays.
Yeah. Wellness Wednesday.
Yeah.
Go for it.
They've been going well. The participation has dropped off a little bit since the beginning night. We did postpone last week because of rain, but it's for anybody that is just looking on focusing on their physical and mental health and learning about how they're interconnected and learning some relaxation and coping techniques. I think it's a good opportunity that people should take advantage of right now. And I've been to 2 of the 3, and
you look
amazing.
much better.
Thank you, thank you.
Much more relaxed.
I don't have that grimace on my face I normally have, right? Yeah, so I would encourage anyone to come out to that. I'd like to see some men there. It seems to be heavily dominated by women.
We want to give you
men
girls
need
your
to learn
time.
how to relax.
So, and of all ages, last night there was probably all ages of folks there last night, and
Good.
I think everyone enjoyed it. So, and I think many thanks for the people from Allegheny College and the other volunteers that are helping put on each Wednesday night. So,
Very good. Anything else? Anything else? We go to the order. Are we done?
I think we're done.
Okay.
I believe we're done.
We are done. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for attending this afternoon.